thank you guys, first of all, for being here. Just diving right into Wizards. Zane, as a writer-director, I would love to kind of hear the genesis of the project. Where did the idea come from? And how did it kind of come to be?
I don't really know. It's kind of a long story. I'm going to give you like the Reader Digest version of it.
Sure.
But I've been writing for like 7 years, and I had a couple of things that were going to be the thing, and they both just died on the vine. And so I was dealing with like a lot of rejection, right? And I'm working at a liquor store like the character is.
Yeah.
And I would walk home just nursing this rejection and feeling bad about myself. And then I happened to cross a game store where people were kind of bathed in this yellow light, and there was like one person table was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the other table was playing Magic the Gathering. And I just felt like it was a very warm kind of family feeling. And of course I'm on the other side looking in, and I went home and started writing that immediately. Yeah, just about who they were, and kind of the feelings of estrangement with one character and this other character, and that's kind of where it came from. That's
great. Had you played Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons before that, or
I'm a little like Ronnie. Yeah, I'm a little like Ronnie. He says like, I don't think I'm smart enough. That's kind of I'm dumb. So that stuff confuses me. But I did a lot of research and talked to people on Reddit to make sure that it was vetted, so that it's very important that people didn't think that we were making fun of them, you know? So.
Yeah. I love that it's kind of this motley crew that comes together under circumstances that they probably wouldn't be friends outside of this game. And then Ronnie kind of comes in and just flips the table a bit. And I never thought I would enjoy a commie so much. That's, Putin loving, So how did the characters come about? So it sounds like Eric kind of, with the liquor store connection. How did you kind of come up with this batch of characters?
I don't really know. I guess short answer is subconscious, because they just came. I didn't really have to think too much about it. I didn't feel like it. There's been a character in a lot of my stuff that is a gun-toting idiot, and just kind of, I don't know. I grew up in Texas, so not saying that everybody that owns a gun. Anyway, I'm gonna get in trouble. But the kind of bravado of him, and I don't want to be crass over this, but yeah, he's a crass man, and just putting him in any situation is going to be funny, because he's just no social skills whatsoever. And then, the Lee, who has the mustache and the cosplay, and is just an amalgam of a bunch of people that are just obsessive people. And then I had a friend who has like a mysterious illness, and we would talk a lot about, what the doctor said this time, and what meds he was on this time, and then everybody else is just they came to me whole cloth. I don't know how else to say it.
But they all kind of have heart. It's not just a bunch of jokes being flown around and how funny it is to be in this situation, but there's a that kind of one-on-one at the bar when Ronnie's kind of just really letting it all out, and there's a connection, and that's, I think that there's depth. All these characters have depth.
Yeah. Did you read the second episode?
No, I have not read it yet.
So the entire season's written. Like, I wrote it in 3 months, and there's everyone in the pilot stays throughout the entire show, and they all have arcs, and it gets it's quite sad, really. But it, just funny, just
Yeah.
funny. And the emotion that I was trying to capture, which I think hopefully the pilot hints to it, is that it's a moment when you're laughing and crying and you don't know which
Right.
started first. You know, like there's a couple of moments and it builds up to that kind of cathartic moment. You know, like watching somebody with a like a, what are they called? They put dead bodies in them. I'm drawing a blank. But
Coffin
Hearse? A
yeah,
hearse?
a coffin.
Hearse?
It's
Okay.
like watching a person with a coffin, and then like one of them farts or something, and you just start laughing, you know. And it's just that spirit that keeps us going, you know.
That's great.
The hope.
That's great. Well, I'm kind of curious about this, the band of characters here. And Nick, feel free to like jump in as the producer. How did you find these guys? Because they're not really, I didn't really recognize anybody, but they just felt familiar and felt like you did a great job casting this whole project. So how did that come to be?
Well, me, Zane, and David had all known each other before the project. We had all worked together actually at a cafe for a short stint.
Mm-hmm.
I recently just moved out to Los Angeles. I think David, who's one of the actors in it as well, had recently moved out. So we all met there. And then when we kind of got together to produce this, obviously David was one of the actors, but Zane and David, I think, were more in the casting. I kind of just from the get-go did everything post. That was my responsibility. Yeah. So
Nick
I was
Nick
more
had
so.
Yeah,
so I helped a lot more with posts, and then I guess kind of, you know, on-set experience too, just coming in with another mindset and mind frame.
You guys stumbled into a good crew to get things kicked off.
Yeah, and when Joaquin came on board, that helped out a ton as well. But for casting, I would have to say Zane's got the best answers for that.
So David, like Nick was saying, he plays Eric. We worked together. I trained him at a coffee shop. But
and David trained me.
Yeah, we no longer work there. Anyway, what happened? Yeah, I had David in mind and I wrote it because I knew I was writing something to scale that I could film because of all the rejection, right?
Yeah.
Like I just wanted something that I could make.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of locations that I thought that I could get for free.
Yeah.
We filmed it for like $4,000. I was using people that I knew.
$4,000.
So like David, I knew. Max Baumgarten, we had the same commercial agent when I was doing commercials. And then Ronnie, we met through a guy that I was originally going to direct it, a guy named Dean Imperial. They were friends. Joel Johnston's on, I think, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. He was like our big get. And he wasn't what I was envisioning for the character, but he just killed it.
Yeah.
He just killed it. And then Sean was a friend of a friend. Yeah, but that's how. Just
I mean, it was great. I'm impressed. So I want to hear more about the production aspect. I can't believe it only cost $4,000. I mean, that's amazing. So I guess, Joaquin, when you come into a project like this, and I felt very intimate. I mean, it was a lot of handheld. How did you take it on to really represent the personality of the project?
Yeah. Well, when I met Zane and had read the script and kind of got a feel for what it was going to be like, when I originally heard the $4,000 budget, it was like, all right, this is going to be pretty interesting. But he talked me through. He told me, the locations that they had for free, and we did a lot of scouting and pre-production, a few really late nights at Zane's apartment, shot listing, and just really talking through it so that we had a plan to work within our limitations. Visually for the project, I wanted to shoot with some older vintage lenses to, most of the show is set in Palms, Los Angeles. That's mostly where we shot. And I wanted to look, be set in realism, but also have a little bit of a stylized aspect, so that the show's visual aesthetic can kind of flirt with a little bit of magical realism, maybe, because later in the season, because that was something really nice, since Zane had all this figured out. He had all the episodes written, so I could sort of know it was coming down in the different storylines, and develop kind of, it was more like a visual theory, because in reality most of the production was focused on just getting in the can. I mean, there was one day I think we did close to 16 or 17 pages.
Wow.
And anyone who's ever done production, I mean, that's just pure insanity. And as a director of photography, that's where you have to let the ego part of your director of photography brain go, where you're like, oh, I would just want this to look amazing. And you have to be like, it's more about getting, a clean or a decent visual that lets the actors do their thing. Because that was, I think, what really made this work, was that the actors were so phenomenal. They knew what they were doing. And so I wasn't, in the speed that we were shooting, I wasn't really able to do any crazy lighting or visuals. It was just like, I just needed to light a space. I would do kind of zone lighting, nothing specific, just like light the garage and just let the actors do their thing, get a decent amount of coverage. Nick and I talked a bit about how you cover something like the game scenes are tricky, because, shooting conversation at a table, that's a lot of times where you really, in something like Tarantino or whatever, that's where you really find good filmmaking. And covering a conversation that's multiple pages long with 5 or 6 characters is very tricky. So a lot of pre-production. We called in a lot of favors, and also I'd say just a little bit of luck. Just the determination, just saying like, let's just go for it with $4,000. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. And very excited.
Great.
Yeah, we didn't. It was guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We originally wanted it to be a little more artful. Like, I think I said something like Jim Jarmusch meets Napoleon Dynamite, and then Joaquin was the only one that we looked at that had that kind of cinematic eye that we were looking for. Because it seems to be that's where television is going anyway, or has been. So to reach the level of movies as far as visually. And he was the only one that had it. We saw a lot of people, and so it wouldn't have gotten done or looked near as good if it weren't for these two gentlemen here, because
Congrats.
They did like what I don't even know how they did it. Like, I just was there in case stuff went wrong, but they made it all work.
Nick, were you like putting together a skeleton like on set, like working in real time, or did you?
No, just because it was. I mean, what were we shooting? 4 or 5 days straight.
It was like 4.5 or something. I barely remember.
I think like 4 days straight, and then the day of pickups.
Yeah,
I believe,
that's
right?
Yeah.
And I think the first day I actually couldn't be there because I had a really big important gig for my other work, so I had to miss the first day. But we kind of, it's obviously $4,000, kind of all hands on deck.
Yeah.
So it was more so, I was almost acting more so as like a AD on set, more so than a full-time editor role. You know.
Oh yeah.
And, everyone has to wear a few different hats and help out where they can. So there wasn't, I wouldn't say there was really time to, I couldn't sit there on my computer looking over dailies and stuff at the time, but I could give my input as an editor, like, okay, I think we have enough coverage for this scene, or I don't.
You also helped on the style, because Joel was doing one thing, you're like, hold there, and let's hold that. You were like cutting in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Filming.
Yeah, exactly. So for a certain scene, I think the best example is the jump cuts where he's like stretching in the room and all. I had to think of ways where we could kind of diversify the footage, so it could be cut really short, or it could be kept at its full length, because you're never quite sure until you have a full cut. So just little moments like that.
The way the shoot worked on this approaching a shoestring budget was our first day we knew it was going to be hard. Like, how many pages was it again?
It was ridiculous, like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of the scenes in the garage, all the scenes in the garage, the majority of the dialogue, the majority of the long scenes, it was all one day, which it's remarkable that we did that.
We had to do it this way because
Shot.
we had to cut Max. We only had Max for a certain amount of time.
Oh, yes, right.
Because he was doing a show in Las Vegas.
Mm.
I tried to make this thing like 3 times with 3 different directors, and Max had been there every single time. So
Got it.
it was very important to me that we kept Max.
Yeah.
And so we needed to cut him first. So all those big scenes we had to do in one day. It was like a 16-hour day.
Mhm.
And we lost Penelope's scenes
Mhm.
because our sound guy had to go to college.
Yeah.
He couldn't leave his material with us. So we were going to even go further.
Yeah.
And then because we lost him, we had to improvise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's when the actual directing kind of came about, because we had to improvise stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost some stuff. I think we only had enough footage to tell the story.
Mm.
You know, we lost a lot of jokes. We lost a lot of stuff that would have had payoff later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the what was the child actor's name? I'm forgetting, but he had to leave at a certain point, and it was this thing where we'd planned certain parts of the coverage, and so when he left, it was this whole weird thing of like, oh, now we have to try to shoot this coverage differently in singles because there's this hole in the frame, and they're talking to an eye line that, you know, and there's nothing there anymore, and it's been, you know, we're hour 16 just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. It's like this. You're thinking, and it's so funny because it's such a low budget thing, and the opening is just dick jokes, and you're taking it very, very seriously. Like, he's not gonna be here anymore. It's kind of this weird, the level of seriousness and heat that we have on this thing, and the kind of content of the
content.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
It's so good. Well, one last question, and I'll let you guys get out of here. But what's going on with it now? I mean, we're kind of living in the age of COVID, but you have the whole series written. So, are you just trying to shop it, or see what happens with the pilot? What's the plan now?
I've been trying to get it to people here in LA for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have a script, nobody reads scripts, is what they say. And then make something, and people. But I'm finding it just as hard to get people to watch it. So. I think we're all hoping that the SeriesFest is like a tide that lifts it up to somebody's.
We try to be.
So because it's already written, and because we all feel so strongly about it, I think we would like to see it made with our. That's the plan.
Yeah,
that's the hope.
That's great. Well, seriously, congratulations. It's hysterical. And we're happy that you made it and that we get to show it during the virtual fest.
Thank you.
I wish that we were doing this Q&A in person, but hopefully we can all see you at a future SeriesFest in Denver.
I would love it.
Great. Thank you guys so much for joining us and being part of the Q&A. Of
course. Thank you so much.